All right, let's dive into some relocation intel. We're heading down south today to explore Beaufort, South Carolina.
Beautiful spot.
And we've got some insights from a local realtor there named Diana. Um, this deep dive should answer just about every question about, well, could Beaufort be my new home?
Yeah, and what I really like is that Diana's not just giving us like the pretty picture, she's getting into the details that actually matter when you're thinking about moving somewhere new.
Yeah, you're right. Like she describes Beaufort as postcard perfect southern town,
Mm-hmm.
but then she gets into the affordability.
Yeah.
Beaufort mentions median home price is $350,000.
Okay, yeah. Now that's something I think a lot of people are going to want to hear, especially with how crazy the housing market has been in a lot of places.
For sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
think about it. If your median home price where you are now is, let's say, $550,000, moving to Beaufort could be like, what, an extra $2,000 a month for you? I mean, that's huge.
I'm practically packing my bags already.
Right.
But before we do that, we got to talk about, well, flooding.
Ah, yeah.
It's on the
That's
coast, so it's a valid concern.
right.
Diana says that Beaufort's generally less prone to flooding than, say, Charleston, because it's a little higher elevation.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
But she's really adamant that you check those flood maps for any property, do your due diligence.
Oh, for sure. Don't want to buy your dream waterfront home and then it turns into, well, a waterlogged home.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's, another place where having a realtor who really knows the area like Diana can be so helpful. She can point you to the right neighborhoods.
Right, right. Well, let's shift gears a bit and talk about, well, what is there to do in Beaufort?
Yeah, what's the scene like?
Well, I was honestly kind of surprised by how much they have going on.
Mm.
She mentioned this Beaufort International Film Festival.
Oh, wow.
So if you're a movie buff, that could be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And there's a big arts community there too, like
Yeah.
a lot of galleries, studios, painting, sculpture, all that kind of stuff.
One thing that's really unique about Beaufort is the Gula heritage.
Oh yeah, tell me more about that.
So it's this really fascinating culture that's preserved by descendants of enslaved Africans who, settled in the Lowcountry region.
Hmm.
And they have their own distinct language, crafts, cuisine. It's really something special.
Wow, that's incredible. I'd love to see that. And speaking of history, Beaufort itself it's really steeped in it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the second oldest city in South Carolina,
Wow.
founded back in 1711. We're talking colonial times, Revolutionary War, Civil War, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, and what's really interesting, Beaufort was actually occupied by Union forces for most of the Civil War.
Mhm.
So that's why a lot of those beautiful antebellum homes are still standing today.
Oh, I
There's
suppose.
big grand mansions from the pre-Civil War South.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, I know what our listeners are thinking now. Okay, this all sounds great, but what about jobs?
Right, right. Got to pay the bills.
Exactly, yeah. So the good news is Diana says Beaufort's economy is actually pretty diverse.
Okay.
Obviously, the military presence is big. There's, Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort.
Right, right.
Parris Island is nearby. But there's, healthcare, education, tourism.
Yeah, nice mix.
Yeah, yeah. And this was kind of fun. Beaufort has become a bit of a filming hotspot lately.
Oh, wow, really?
So you might even stumble across a movie set, out and about.
That's cool. I mean, and this is another thing that Diana could probably help with, right? I mean, she knows the area so well, she probably has some insight into the local job market.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's talk weather because, it's a big deal when you're choosing where to live.
Oh, absolutely.
And Beaufort has that, that classic warm climate. Summer's perfect for, swimming, being out on the water,
Mm-hmm.
mild winter so you don't have to, be stuck inside for months on end.
Yeah.
And those gorgeous shoulder seasons.
Oh, the best. Yeah,
Yeah, trade in your snow shovel for a kayak.
exactly. Now, of course, we can't ignore hurricane season.
Right.
But Diana says Beaufort is well prepared, and most years go by, without any major issues.
That's good to know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, speaking of enjoying life, Diana mentions some local traditions that really paint a picture of, the community.
Oh, I love that.
So there's this water festival, shrimp festival,
Okay.
and they sound like a blast.
Yeah.
And then there's these night on the town events, like the whole downtown area, becomes this big party.
That's so fun.
Shops stay open late, everybody comes out, mingles.
It sounds very lively.
Yeah. And this goes back to what Diana was saying about Beaufort having this really welcoming community.
Yeah, that's so important.
Yeah. Mix of, longtime locals and newcomers, military families, retirees.
A real melting pot.
Yeah, exactly. And that's priceless, I think, when you're moving somewhere new, you know?
Oh, for sure, that sense of belonging.
Yeah, that you're part of something.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And speaking of priceless, we got to talk about the food in Beaufort.
Okay, yes.
I mean, you're right on the coast, so fresh seafood is a given.
Right.
Diana was raving about the shrimp and oysters.
Hmm.
But she said there's variety too. Everything from traditional low country cooking
Yeah.
to kind of, fancier places.
Oh, I can already see myself at the farmer's market loading up on fresh produce.
Yeah.
And then making some delicious meal with like a southern twist.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, well, drool-worthy food aside, we got to talk about outdoor activities
Yeah.
because it seems like Beaufort's paradise for, anybody who likes to be active.
Okay.
Diana mentioned amazing boating, kayaking, fishing.
Nice. So if you're someone who loves being out on the water, this could be the place for you.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
And if you prefer to stay on land, some days there's the Spanish Moss Trail.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, perfect for biking, jogging, beautiful scenery.
Yeah.
And then there's Hunting Island State Park,
Hmm.
which has these pristine beaches, a historic lighthouse, and even camping if you're feeling adventurous.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right, let's take a little break from all the fun stuff and talk about, well, the practical side of things.
Okay, the important stuff.
Yeah. So starting with education, Diana said there's a good mix of public, private, and charter schools.
Okay. So good for families, with kids of all ages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for, higher education, or if you're thinking about, a career change or something, there's the University of South Carolina, Beaufort.
Oh, interesting. So not just, for students, but, they could have lectures, workshops, things like that are open to the community.
Right, exactly, yeah.
That's great. It adds a nice energy to a town.
Yeah, it does. It's kind of amazing how Beaufort manages to, have that small town charm, but also those big city amenities.
Yeah. Best of both worlds.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, let's talk about healthcare because that's always a big one when you're relocating.
Oh, absolutely. Especially if you have a family or have any specific medical needs.
Right. Diana said that the main healthcare facility there is Beaufort Memorial Hospital,
Okay.
and it's known for providing excellent care.
Good.
And if you ever need, really specialized care, the bigger hospitals in Charleston and Savannah aren't that far away.
Yeah. That's good to know. Gives you peace of mind.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you might be thinking Beaufort sounds great for, families, young professionals, but what about retirees?
Yeah, good point.
Well, Diana actually specifically mentioned that it is a popular retirement destination.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it makes sense when you think about it, right? The mild climate, the beautiful scenery, the slower pace of life.
Yeah, for sure.
Sounds pretty ideal.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. And she actually even joked that you should be prepared for, your calendar to fill up with visitors once your friends and family see your new place.
Oh, totally. Who wouldn't want to come visit you in Beaufort?
Exactly, yeah. But, here's what really stood out to me. It was Diana's emphasis on community.
Ah, yes.
She described Beaufort as this incredibly welcoming mix of, longtime locals, newcomers, military families, retirees, like people genuinely connect there. They build relationships.
Yeah. I mean, that's so important, isn't it? When you're choosing a place to live, it's not just about the house itself or, all the amenities.
Right.
It's about, finding a community that you resonate with, a place where you feel like you belong.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that sense of community really seems to be like built into Beaufort. From those local traditions we talked about to, just the friendly faces you see at the farmer's market or walking down the street.
Yeah. I mean, just listening to Diana talk about it, you can almost feel that warmth, that welcoming spirit.
I know.
It makes you like kind of imagine yourself living there.
Yeah.
Finding your own little group of friends, your own place in Beaufort.
It's a nice thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trading, all the hustle and bustle for that southern charm, the beauty of the coast, and that real human connection.
Yeah. Makes you kind of, rethink what's really important when you're choosing a place to call home.
Yeah, it does.
Maybe it's not about, living in the biggest city or having the fanciest job title.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about finding a place where you can, be yourself, where you can connect with people and just live a life that feels, genuinely good.
I think you nailed it. It's not just about the bricks and mortar. It's
Yeah.
about the feeling, the vibe,
Yeah.
the people. And it sounds like Beaufort has all of that in spades. You hit the nail on the head there. It really is about that feeling, the people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it seems like, Diana really plays a part in making people feel welcome, making
Yeah.
them feel like they're part of that community.
Oh, totally. I mean, it's one thing to move to a nice town, but it's another to have someone like Diana who can really connect you with people, resources, opportunities,
Yeah.
make you feel like you actually belong there.
Right. Like she's not just trying to close a deal. She wants you to really, thrive.
Right.
Speaking of which, we haven't even talked about one of Beaufort's biggest, I guess, selling points is the affordability.
Right. Right.
I mean, Diana mentioned that the property tax rate in Beaufort County is 0.5%, that's way lower than the national average.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, think about it. If you're coming from a place with like a 1.5% property tax rate, you could be saving thousands of dollars every year just by moving to Beaufort.
Right. That's serious money.
I mean, that's more money for, those seafood dinners we were talking about.
Or maybe a new boat. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah.
We should talk about some of the practical things too. Yeah. I'm not just talking about, pack a boxes. I'm talking about, healthcare. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Especially if you're moving with a family or if you have any specific medical needs.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Diana did mention Beaufort Memorial Hospital as the main hospital there. And she said it's really well regarded in the area.
Mhm.
They have, a pretty wide range of services, so you can feel good knowing that you'll have, quality healthcare if you need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you ever need something super specialized, those hospitals in Charleston and Savannah are, just a short drive away.
Right, exactly. So you've got options.
Yeah, peace of mind. Well, I've been kind of digging into the history of Beaufort, and wow, it's really fascinating. Did you know that Beaufort was actually one of the wealthiest cities in America before the Civil War?
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, it was all because of, those Sea Island cotton plantations.
Oh, right, right.
Yeah, and that's why all those antebellum mansions are still there.
Uh-huh. Makes sense.
It's like they're not just pretty to look at, they're reminders of, Beaufort's past.
Yeah, a real tangible connection to history, like you're stepping back in time.
Exactly, yeah. But history aside, I'm also really interested in Beaufort's, modern day cultural scene.
Okay. Yeah.
Diana mentioned that they have a really vibrant arts community,
Mhm.
lots of galleries, studios.
That's cool, like showcasing local talent.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And she also talked about the Beaufort International Film Festival,
Oh, right, right.
which, brings in people from all over.
So it's not just like a local thing, it's attracting people from outside.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's really become kind of a cultural hub.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. Okay, well, enough about the glitz and glamour. Let's talk about, some of the more practical things again.
Okay, back down to earth.
Exactly. Education is obviously a big one for families with kids. And Diana mentioned that they have, a good variety of public, private, and charter schools.
Okay, so good for families with kids of different ages and different needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for higher education, there's the University of South Carolina, Beaufort.
Right, right. Which also offers, different programs for adults, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Not just traditional students. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really amazing how Beaufort manages to, kind of balance that small town feel with all the amenities and opportunities of a bigger city.
Yeah, the best of both worlds. So you're saying it's basically perfect.
Well, let's be real. No place is perfect.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what potential downsides do you see? What could be a challenge for people who are thinking about relocating to Beaufort?
Okay, that's a good question. I mean, it's always important to think about both sides of the coin, right?
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that comes to mind is the pace of life. It's slower, it's more laid back, and for some people that's exactly what they're looking for.
Okay.
But for others, it might feel, a little too quiet, a little too isolated, especially if they're used to, a more fast-paced environment.
Right. Yeah. And for people who are really career driven, the job market in Beaufort, while it is diverse, it might not have, the same range of opportunities as a bigger city.
Right. Yeah, it depends on your field, I guess.
Exactly. Another thing to think about is transportation. I mean, Beaufort is pretty small, pretty walkable, but having a car is pretty much essential, I think.
Yeah, especially if you want to, explore the surrounding area.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about the southern humidity.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not used to it, that can be a bit of an adjustment.
That's true. You got to be prepared for that. But, think of it as a free sauna every time you step outside.
There you go.
Yeah.
Always looking on the bright side. But seriously, it's all about weighing the pros and cons and deciding what you're willing to compromise on, I guess.
Yeah.
And for some people, the charm of Beaufort, the affordability, the strong sense of community, that might outweigh any potential downsides.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's where someone like Diana can be so helpful, right? Because she can help you navigate those challenges, answer your questions, and ultimately, help you make the best decision for you, for your specific situation.
Yeah, it's like having a personal guide.
Yeah, like a relocation Sherpa, leading you through the unknown territory of a new town,
Yeah.
helping you find your footing.
I like that. So let's say, someone listening is seriously thinking about moving to Beaufort. What's the next step? What advice would you give them?
Well, first and foremost, I'd say reach out to Diana. She's a wealth of information about Beaufort. She can answer your questions about, neighborhoods, schools, the housing market, whatever you're wondering about.
Yeah, she could probably connect you with other resources too,
Mm.
lenders, inspectors, contractors, people who can help make the whole relocation process a little smoother.
Totally. Yeah. And beyond the practical stuff, Diana can also like introduce you to the heart of Beaufort, the people, the traditions, the culture, help you feel like a local right from the start.
Yeah. And that's something you can't really put a price on that.
Right.
It's about that sense of belonging, of being part of something special. And it really sounds like Beaufort has that.
It does. Yeah, it's like this hidden gem on the South Carolina coast just waiting to be discovered.
And who knows, maybe it's the missing piece of your life.
Maybe. I mean, even if after thinking about it, you decide Beaufort isn't the right place for you, at least, we've had this conversation. It's kind of a journey of self-discovery, right?
Right. Yeah.
Maybe you've realized that you really do want a slower pace of life, or maybe you've discovered a new interest in, Southern history or Gula culture.
It's all about, opening your mind to new possibilities
Yeah.
and making choices that feel right for you. And hey, even if you don't end up moving to Beaufort, you've learned something new. You've broadened your perspective. Maybe you've even, added a new place to your travel bucket list.
Absolutely.
It's all good. Well, all this talk about Beaufort has me really wanting to experience some of that southern hospitality
Me too.
and definitely some of that low country cooking.
Oh, yeah, we'd have to try that.
Maybe it's time to plan a road trip.
I'm in. Who knows? Maybe we'll run into Diana while we're there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get the real insider tour.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, we've had a blast exploring Beaufort with you today,
Mm.
and I hope this deep dive has inspired you to think outside the box a little bit,
Yeah.
and to really consider what matters most to you when you're choosing a place to call home.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm already picturing it as sitting on a porch, swaying, sipping sweet tea, Spanish moss, swaying in the breeze.
Oh, yeah.
But before we get too carried away with our southern fantasies, let's bring it back to you, our listener. What really stuck with you about Beaufort? Was it the history, the culture, the slower pace of life,
Yeah.
or maybe those property taxes that are practically screaming financial freedom?
It's amazing how different things appeal to different people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some people might be drawn to, Beaufort's beauty, the coast,
Mhm.
and others might be really focused on the affordability or that strong sense of community. There's no right answer. It's all about finding what works for you.
Absolutely. And that's where, Diana's expertise really comes in.
Right.
Because she doesn't just, give you a generic picture of Beaufort.
Yeah.
She takes the time to understand your needs, your dreams,
Yeah.
what you want your life to look like. And then she helps you, connect the dots.
Right. She's like a puzzle solver,
Yeah.
piecing together the perfect Beaufort experience for each person.
That's a great way to put it. It really highlights, I think, the importance of having a realtor who's not just, transactional,
Yeah.
but someone who actually cares. Someone who wants to see you, succeed and be happy.
Right, exactly. It's not just about selling houses, it's about, helping people build a life.
Yeah, and that's what makes this whole process, I think, so much more than just buying a house. you know?
Hmm.
It's about finding that sense of belonging, finding a place where you can really put down roots. And it sounds like Beaufort is that kind of place.
It does, yeah. And even if after all this you decide that Beaufort isn't right for you, I think this deep dive has still been worthwhile
Oh,
because
absolutely.
it started a conversation,
Yeah.
a journey of self-discovery.
Right.
Maybe you've realized that you really do value a slower pace of life, or maybe you've discovered a new passion for Southern history or Gullah culture.
It's all about expanding your horizons, right?
Yeah.
And exploring new possibilities.
And ultimately, making choices that feel good to you. And hey, even if you don't end up moving to Beaufort, you've learned something new. You've gained a new perspective. Maybe you've even, found a new place to add to your travel list.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive into
Yeah.
into Beaufort, we want to leave you with one final thought.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to dream big,
Yeah.
to step outside your comfort zone,
Yeah.
and to explore all the amazing possibilities that life has to offer.
And remember, if Beaufort has piqued your interest, Diana is just a phone call or email away.
Hmm.
She's ready to answer your questions, guide you through the process, and help you figure out if Beaufort is the place where your next chapter begins.
Well, we've had an absolute blast exploring Beaufort with you today, and we hope this deep dive has left you feeling, well, inspired, informed, and maybe even a little bit tempted to pack your bags and head south.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for listening. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those dreams alive.
Who knows? Maybe one day we'll be recording a deep dive from our very own porch swing in beautiful Beaufort.
I would love that. Until then, happy travels, everyone.